Hi everyone, it's Nathan Hawkins from Builder Registration. We've got a big group coming in today for this week one webinar. Now it's only 5:56, okay, so we're going to give it a couple of minutes, probably kick off at about 3 to 5 past 6. We've got about 50 people coming, so it's really good. A little bit of housekeeping. We've got the opportunity to raise your hand or ask a question, which you can just type in the box at any time. We're just going to basically do a quick walkthrough of what you guys are going to expect because everyone in this webinar is actually starting training with Builder Registration in July. So we're basically going to have about 50 people here, 50, 55, and talk to you guys about what to expect coming into the course. There's a couple of key decisions you have to make between now and when you start the course. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what to expect, training, Builder Registration, VBA, and a little bit on books. Just so you guys are as prepared as possible, because the people on this webinar, everyone here, their goal is to be registered in this calendar year. So they'll be starting their course in July and they'll be expecting to finish the year, walk into Christmas with their registration physically in their hand, out and passing the VBA process. So again, it's 5:57. We're just going to give it a couple of minutes and then we'll be able to sort of kick off and get into it. There'll be plenty of time for questions, plenty of time to go through any questions or concerns that you guys have. We can turn microphones on. We keep this one as a webinar because if we have 50 different cameras on, it really slows the computers down and makes it really slow. There's a lot of background noise, even with the mutes and stuff, it can be quite distracting. But we've got full ability to put cameras on. We can put different voices on. You can talk. We can just list questions that you like, and we can go through that. So again, we'll just give it a couple of minutes and we'll get started. We've got a mix of people in this group. We've got both domestic and commercial clients. I'd probably say it's about 70, 80% domestic, 20, 30% commercial, roughly. Yeah, we've still got people coming in, which is great. So again, it's 5:58. We'll give it a couple of minutes and we'll get started. Things we're going to cover off is obviously VBA, applications, training, what experience you're expecting. And then, of course, I talk a little bit about licensing and post-registration. So we're only going to go for an hour today. It could only be wrapped up in 45 minutes. So it's not, a massive length of time. But this is here just to prepare you guys for what you guys should expect coming up for your upcoming courses. Now, good news is that welcome to take notes and everything, but we will actually record this session. And if anyone needs a copy of it, we can send it to. If anyone can't attend the full session, we can send a copy of the link to you. If you're in a bad place with a bad connection or whatever and you need a copy, just reach out to us because we are recording this. Just note that for any because you while names aren't recorded, any questions we will answer live, and that will be part of the recording as well. All right, fantastic. Okay. Welcome to the Builder Registration, and thank you all for choosing Builder Registration as your registration partner. The goal of everyone in this room here, everyone here is financially committed to achieving your builder's license in 2024. You're all going into training in July. We've got a bunch of commercial and domestic licenses that we're going for. Normally, I'd come out to each week one and basically do a quick presentation. Because it's end of financial year and everything that's happening at the moment, we've got so many courses launching. Because of that, we're doing a quick catch up today, which is a bit of a preview for what your week one's going to be. We're going to talk about the registration process. We're going to talk about the VBA. We're going to talk about application itself with lodging it, timing with the VBA at the moment, what training you're going to do at Builder Registration, what to expect. We'll talk a little bit about the books and then a little bit on post-registration. So just to kick things off too quickly, again, thank you so much for choosing Builder Registration as your registration partner. We're really excited to be able to get you guys into our course. A little bit about us. We have over 2,500 licenses to date. We get about 5 to 15 every week. So we know this registration space really, really well. We have a 92% success rate passing on the first attempt. And if you don't pass on the first attempt, you stay with us until you pass for no extra cost. The bad news with us is that we turn down 8 out of 10 people that contact us because they don't have the work history or they can't get the references. Good news is that everyone I'm speaking to today has already passed all those pre-qualifying questions, and it means that you are eligible to get your license. So we are fully expecting that every single person on this webinar will have their license and be eligible to have their license. And by coming through our system, that's what you're getting. So you're walking out with a license. What I tell everyone is, I hope that you really enjoy the experience. I hope that you learn a lot. I hope that you become a better builder because of it. But if you learn a lot and you love the experience and you think we're amazing people, great guys and all that, but you don't get a license, then you've wasted your money. If you hated the experience and didn't enjoy it and didn't get a lot out of it, but you got your license, well, that's what you're paying for. You're paying to specifically walk out of this experience with your license in your hand. Now, a bit of a tough reality that I have to deliver in these week ones, and this is a little bit scary because we've got 50 people in the room, and all 50 people you guys are going to spend $10,000 getting registered. You're going to spend our fee, which is your $7,000. You're going to buy books, and then you're going to pay $1,000 to the VBA. So everyone in this group is going to spend about $10,000 on the registration process. Now, the one thing that shocks everyone when I tell them is that when it comes to week one, turning up to week one, if we've got 10 people in the class, 2 out of 10 don't turn up to week one. So they've paid the money, paid all the money up front, and they don't turn up to week one. 5 out of 10 don't actually lodge their application with the VBA. The reason is if I look at the group and the group of people, the majority of the group are guys between the age. We'll have a couple of ladies come through as well, which is great, but it's 95% guys, and their age, but 95 of them are aged between 28 and 45. And at that stage in your life, between 28 and 45, I'm 39, you're very serious in your career. You're getting married, you're having kids, your parents are getting older, which is always a scary thing. You got lots going on in your life. And my very first guy that I got registered was Reggie in Dandenong. Signed him up to get his license. He was my very first guy I signed up. It took him 4 years to get registered. Now, unfortunately, Reggie's father passed away and he had a lot of challenges going on in his personal life. And it meant that he couldn't actually go through and get registered because he just wasn't ready for it. The good news is that he didn't leave us until he had his license physically in his hand. So what I'm saying to you guys is that in the event that something happens, something goes on, something goes wrong, or, touch wood, it doesn't happen. But if it does, I want you to put your hand up and say, hey, mate, I'm busy. I got stuff going on. Call me in 6 months. And what we will do is park your file and you will come back to us when you're ready. And hopefully it's sooner rather than later. But you are specifically paid a lot of money because it's not a cup of coffee, right? This is expensive. You paid a lot of money to be a part of us. And we're expecting you to leave us with a license. Now, if life gets in the way, that's okay. We'll put you on hold. But if you come back 2 years later, you do not lose your money. So it's really important that, okay? Now, when it comes to training, your training is going to be 1 night a week over 10 weeks for the guys in our standard course. We have a lot of people here in our fast track courses. That's 2 nights a week over 5 weeks. The key thing is we want you all to come through your training, and I want you to be lodging your application at the end of training. So around about that week 8 or week 4 for the fast track guys. Now, if we lodge your application at, say, week 8 stage, the VBA currently are taking about 6 to 8 weeks to respond to that application. Now, you guys are paid to be here. You're going to come through our training course. You'll be doing what we call our core training. Now, what happens is that at the end of the training, we lodge your application. We then have a range of services for you. We have advanced training, and advanced training is there to bulletproof you, to guarantee you're going to pass on that first attempt. The idea of advanced training is we give you an extra 3 or 4 weeks, and that's just while you're waiting for your interview with the VBA. We have these really amazing Kahoot tests. We've got practice questions. We've got so many different resources for you, and it's all included in your fee. The only thing extra is that if you want to do a private one-on-one session with a trainer, we can pay the trainer for his time. They charge $385 for a 2-hour session, and that's a really good way to bulletproof you. Maybe a week before the interview, you might do a one-on-one with a trainer and have them just run you through an interview, and then at the end, give you a pass mark and say, okay, you're an 8 out of 10. You need to sharpen up on here, here, here. Or sometimes you can have an area, like I'm talking to the chippies in the room. We have the chippies over here, and over this side, we've got the more developer types or the project managers. The chippies tend to do really well with the tactile framing, roofing stuff, but they tend to struggle with legislation and contracts. On the other side of the room where you got your project managers and developers, they do really well with legislation and contracts, but can sometimes really struggle when it comes to framing and roof lines and comping up slabs and and the practical elements on site. So depending on where your background is, you may have an area that's just a gap in your knowledge, and doing that one-on-one can really bridge that gap. We also have homework assignments that you're all going to get, and that's a great way to basically refresh and re-go through that information. 92% means 8% fail. So for the 8% that don't pass, there's generally three reasons why someone won't pass. Okay. Now the three reasons, I'm just going to open up the Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, just fire away. Excuse me. So three reasons why people fail. Number one is we have some guys that just panic in an interview. And unfortunately, it's a really quite an uncomfortable experience. We'll talk about the interview a bit later on. But when you talk about the interview, it can be a nerve-wracking, intimidating environment. And if you don't pass because it's just not your best day. You got a bad phone call before you went into the VBA. You just crumbled under the pressure. And that's okay, because what we do with you is we relodge your application, relodge it with the VBA, get you back as quick as we can. We find that the nervous ones that aren't at their best in that first attempt, they're generally much better on the second attempt. The idea that you go into a venue that you've parked there before, you understand what to expect, and you're much more confident the second time round. Maybe do some one-on-ones before that just to bulletproof yourself, but generally they're getting through on the second attempt. So that's the first reason. Second reason is we get some guys that we call pigeon chests. So they walk in with a chest out and they're basically walking in saying, I'm going to teach the assessor more about construction than they've ever heard in their life. And they're walking with a bit of an attitude. Now, what we encourage is you never, ever be a doormat. Never, ever let the assessor walk over you. If you say the answer is right and the assessor says it's wrong, you say, no, I'm right, and you back yourself. However, in doing that, we still need to be respectful. So it is still a formal one-on-one interaction, which we'll do lots and lots of coaching with you on, but we find you've got to check the ego a little bit. Don't be a doormat, but be respectful. And that's really important. So that's the second reason. And then the third reason, I always tell about my friend Jerry. Jerry was a 52-year-old builder in Geelong, a ripper client. Probably one of the strongest candidates we've ever had. He had a lower license. He had the old DBM license for back in the day. They had those, and he had to upgrade. He was just an upgrade. And he'd built 50, 60 homes. He had a ripper business, big background, everything. And he failed his interview, and I couldn't believe he had failed. Anyway, just before I called him to check in to see what was going on, this is about 5 years ago, before COVID. And just before I called him, I looked up his file, and of the 10 training sessions, he only did 3. And he only did 3 because he got to the third one and he felt that he was bored. He wasn't really challenged. He said, you know what, I know this. And he just went and did the interview and unfortunately failed. So what I'm encouraging is just to respect the training. When I've got absolutely no doubt that there will be some areas where mate, you know it, you've done it, you're living and breathing this. You should know a lot of this, but respect the training, do the training, get out. You paid a lot of money, get as much bang for your buck as you can. We want you to learn a lot. We want you to get a lot out of it. The thing I stress when I'm signing guys up is a really good builder can fail his interview. And I'm sure every single one of you have met a really bad builder before, because the interview is a formal assessment in a room like this, one-on-one with an assessor. So one-on-one with an assessor from the VBA. If it was a real assessment, they'd be out meeting you on site, having a look at some of the builds you did, but they don't do that. This is a formal interaction. You're going to be taking a pile of books, which I'm going to show you soon. The pile of books is so big, it goes from the ground to your knee high. And in the real world, we don't use those books. We got Google. We've got surveyors, we've got inspectors, we've got sparkies, plumbers, we've got engineers, we've got architects, all the world of resources. In the interview, you are all of those things. So it's a very different skill set. And I very often say the dumb joke that if a really bad builder signs up with me and I get him registered, if they were a bad builder before and they passed my course and they passed the VBA interview, odds are they're still a bad builder, because you don't learn from your studies, you learn from your construction experience. That's the real world. That's the real world of construction. We will still get a lot out of this course for your life post-registration. However, it is really important that we're just realists on this side. We have to respect the training and do the training. So with those 3 things, as long as we cover those 3 things, you lodge your app, you're respectful of training, you're respectful to the assessor, and you're calm and in control, we can guarantee that you're going to pass. We don't say guarantee lightly. That's why if you don't pass, you stay with us until you pass for no extra cost. So we're very confident on that side. Okay. Last thing I'll talk about with the training side is that I all our trainers are all homegrown. They're all registered builders with chippy background, came through the builder registration system, and now they're trainers. Fantastic system. They're great guys. They talk to you at your level. It's not like when you're in school and your teacher talks down to you. They're talking to you, understanding, and that's what gets the best. These guys are all really passionate about the industry and they all want to give back to the industry. That's why they do this role and they love it. So we've got some amazing trainers. One thing I will say with the training is that training is fun. Training, you get to meet guys. It's great socialize. It's great connection. It's great professional development. And you guys will love it. The problem is that they love the training. You can train forever and you will never get registered. It is the application that starts the process. So I strongly encourage get as much of your application done. Get submitting to the team, the CSOs. Get your application, as much of the document to them as even if they're not responding, just give them everything. You're in a queue. When they get it, they'll hit it, they'll get through the license. It can take 30 hours to do an application. If they get all the documents lined up as much as they can, it just means they're much faster through it. So just don't forget about the application process because it's the application that gets you registered and starts the journey. Now, the one thing I want to talk about today is still hoping to get out to all the week ones, but today it's all about okay, what to expect at builder registration. So you come in and you do your 10 weeks or 5 weeks if it's fast track, lodge your application about 80% into the course. Then we want to put you into advanced training. Advanced training is where we're bulletproofing you, just making sure you pass on the first time. You don't have to do it; it's optional, but it doesn't cost you anything. So please take advantage of it. We've got even if you miss a week, a common question: what happens if I miss a week here or there? We have so many classes all over Victoria that we can jump you into, and our venues tend to cycle, so you can pick it up on the next run. Or if you can't fit it in, we can send you a recording of a session, and then that way you don't miss out on that week. Please communicate with our training department because they've got so many different resources for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys what books are involved. Now I'm going to do the domestic books first. So when we talk about books, I'm just going to lower this so it's on the table. You should still be able to hear me. Okay. Now, when we talk about books, you get your manuals. We're going to talk about that in a sec, right? But when it comes to the books that you need, you get a book list that we'll give to you. So let me show you the books. You can see our tabbing system. We can see that's our tabs on the top. And they're all tabbed up nicely. Let me get all the books out for you. Now, I don't care where you guys get the books from. You can lie, cheat, beg, borrow, steal, download, print. If you've got mates that got registered recently, please go take their books. Save as much money as you can on books because at the end of the day, you just need these. You need these to get registered. You need these for the interview. Okay, now it's really intimidating when you see the pile of books because it's massive. However, you are never, ever going to read all of these books. You're just not. You cannot possibly read all these books and memorize them all because it's just way too many. The key thing is with our training is there to teach you how to reference these books. So for the key questions, every single tab here is based on a question that a VBA assessor is going to ask you. The idea is that when you get asked a question, you can answer the question. And then not only if the VBA says, no, that's wrong, and you say, no, I'm right, they say, okay, show me in the books where that answer is. And that's what the tabbing system is. And that idea of an assessor saying that to you is actually quite common, so you have to be confident in your answer. Now I'm going to show you the most impressive tabbed up book you're ever going to see in your life. This is the NCC. Now, if you've seen an NCC before, you have never ever seen one like this. So this is our NCC. Check out our tabbing system. Yeah. So it is the most impressive tabbed up book you're ever going to see in your life. Now, when you get to week NCC, there's a part where they ask you 25 questions. Now, if you have your books tabbed up with that system, I promise you, you will finish 25 questions in the time that a normal person without the tabs answers 8 questions. And that's just because you don't have to rely on the index. You don't have to rely on the contents. You just go to the tab, flick it open, answer it. They're all color-coded and everything. I won't say you can't go wrong, but it's specifically designed for the DBU interview. Now, for the commercial side, it's exactly the same books, but instead of the red domestic NCC, we've got the blue commercial NCC, but it's the same thickness. 50% of the books are exactly the same. And then there's a bunch of other books that, again, is very, very similar sort of tabbed up systems. Now, the key question you have to answer, this is really, really important. The key thing is when it comes to going for your license, I don't mind where you get your books from. You can big borrow steal, download. We're not here to make money on books. Our thing is we have to get them to you because we're licensed resellers. We get those to you. You've got to decide whether you're going to use tabbing system or non-tabs or tab yourself or use a different system. It's fine. The thing you don't want to do is you don't want to get halfway through the course and go, no, I don't want the tabs. I want the tabs. Then you get halfway through the course, get week 5, 6, and then you say, oh, hang on a sec, I think I want the tabs. Because what happens is that you then get the tabs, but you've already wasted half of the course learning a system with this set of books. And now you're swapping to the other set of books and it really jeopardizes your training. So the thing that I'd strongly encourage is everyone in the Zoom is I really want you guys to make that decision of whether you use tabbed up books, your own tabs, a different tabbing system or our tabbing system. We have, if you prefer to buy the tabs and actually tab the book yourself, that's perfectly fine. We're definitely able to do that. We have free YouTube videos where we actually go through every single book, every single tab, and you can actually watch the video and tab along. Now, no joke, it does take about 8 hours to tab up the book. So if you're happy to do it or got a partner or someone that can help you tab up the books, fantastic. It's actually the best way to do it because it gives you a really good introduction to the books. So it's a great way to do it. If you are time poor and you're not, we've got the books tabbed up, ready in stock. And then when you turn up to training, you turn up, we can have the books ready to go when you turn up week 1. So you don't need any books for week 1, but you will absolutely need them for week 2. So it's really, really important that you make your decision of whether you're using the tabs or non-tabs, non-tabs or tabs before week 2 and not changing your mind when you're halfway through the course because it will learn and the way that you'll be able to perform in the interview. But you can see it's a very, very serious system. And I'll slide this over here. And you will never, ever see a book more impressively tabbed up than that NCC. So that is a massive, massive thing. Again, we have free YouTube videos on our YouTube channel that you guys can check out. And again, it's for free. You can purchase the tabs, which obviously come at a cost, and then go through the free videos and tab it up yourself. No worries at all. And that's a different way of doing it. It just depends on how much time you've got available. We probably find that 75% of our clients use the tab system and 50% have us tab them. The other 50% tab them themselves. It's just whatever your preference is, guys. Again, we've got them in stock. Just let us know. They're also tax deductible. I normally do this week 1, but we figured that because with the end of financial year happening on Sunday, if it was an incentive for you guys to do that beforehand, fantastic. If you want to wait till the course starts, mate, no stress at all. We just want to give everyone the opportunity and whatever works best for you guys. Now, when you join training, you'll be given a flyer with your name on it, and you'll be given 3 books. Now, these aren't books you purchase. These are part of the course, so you get these. You've all paid for these, so you get 3 books. Now, book number 1, this is the red book. Now, what this is taking you through the 10 weeks of training or 5 weeks for fast track, but 10 sessions. This is actually what you're doing in the course. The black book, this is your homework. So you'll be sent a online system, which is basically modules that you do at home. Now, we've specifically picked these modules because these modules, we used to teach them in class, but what we found was these modules were just 3 hours of you watching a video, writing notes, going back on, and there was no interaction with the trainer. It could have just been a robot doing it, and you didn't get enough quality time with your trainer. So what we did was we took these exercises out of the course and make this one you just watch videos, so it's nice and easy, and that means it frees up more time in the classroom where we can focus on tougher subjects like roof lines and comping up slabs, and when you actually have to, it's things that angle of repose, things that don't come naturally, and you might need a bit more hands-on work or hands-on assistance or time with the trainer. So again, this black book is for homework. And finally, we have the Blue Book, and this is just a bunch of additional resources. Now, you don't need any of these things, but there's lots of different handy documents from the VBA. There's some different timber guides, and there's a lot of other just resources that can come in handy. They do reference the NCC, and sometimes when you're trying to understand an answer, some of these resources can sort of deep dive and get you sort of a little bit more in-depth knowledge if that's what you're after. You can pass without any of these resources. It is additional, but it's just something we like to include. So again, the three books. So just remember that the red book is for your in-class work, which you take to every single class. Your black book is your homework book, and then your blue book is your additional resources. So that's the three books that you're going to have. Now, they'll all be given to you to week one. So week one, you don't have to bring your books. Just bring a notepad and pen, and that's absolutely all you need for week one. You'll be given that at training. It would make us obvious to let us know what books you need. We'll be able to bring them to week one. So you turn up, they're all nice and ready for you. The trainer brings them. It means you don't have to pay any freight charges or anything. And just let us know if it's a benefit to you financially to do that this side of end of financial year, or if it doesn't matter, we can just do a post. That doesn't matter for us. It's just whatever, if it suits you guys, because it's tax deductible. And if it's tough financially to do that and you need a payment plan, no stress at all. Just let us know. We're pretty lean, friendly when it comes to payment plans. We'll just put in a system, and at the end of the day, we want you to leave us fully registered with the VBA, license in your hand and paid up. And that's a happy, healthy environment for everyone. Out-of-date books is a really important one. You absolutely need the newest NCC, which is this one that I showed before. So it actually comes in two books. So that's the thicker one, and there's another thinner one that sits on top of that. So you need that. So that's the 2022. Now, if you've got an older building act or an older regulation or anything like that, the key thing is to go up to your mate that's got the up-to-date one in class and get your book, get their book and your book, and actually go to the back and look at how many pages are in that book. Now, your book might be 10 years old, but the building act's from 1993, right? So there've been amendments since then, but that's the actual book. So your book might be 10 years old. You might have two books 10 years old each. One book, if you look at the pages in the book, one might have missing 10 pages. If it's missing 10 pages, that book's probably fine. But the other book that's 10 years old might be missing 70 pages. And I'm saying, okay, that's the one you need to update because you're just missing too much information. So that's a rough guide of what you can, of what books are eligible and what books are not. Common question, do I need all the books? You need every single one of them for every single class. Every single one of them you'll be taking into your interview, and I'll be expecting you to be using them all in your interview. The worst thing you can do is turn up with half your books, and then the assessor gets the immediate pressure like, mate, this guy's not serious. If you end up downloading and printing the books or getting a cheaper version or black and white copy, that's okay. But please, please, please do not cheap out on two books. That's both the books, the NCC. So do not cheap out on that one. And do not cheap out on the 1684. Okay, really, really important because these two books are the most commonly used books. Now, we talk about first impression of a VBA assessor. When you clearing these questions, when you sit down for the interview, and you sit down in front of the assessor, you pull your books out, put in front, and you got a black and white copy of this. It is a terrible first impression to be making to the VBA assessor because a really rude thing I've heard a trainer say to a client is, mate, if you can't afford $10,000 to get registered, mate, give up on registration because it is that expensive to be a builder. We're losing 3 builders a day at the moment, like due to cash flow and fixed contracts and all those sorts of elements and pressures that builders face. If you're sitting, and the VBA assessor knows this, if someone turns up and sits down with this book, which is like $170 or something, and they've cheaped out to get the cheap one to save maybe $50 or whatever, it is not a good look for an assessor. So if you want to look like a serious professional builder, you don't want to turn up in a suit and tie, but you want to dress really clean, maybe have a clean polo, jeans, and a nice work top, sort of like this, like where you just come in looking clean. Don't have ripped, torn, dirty clothes, because if you look like you can't afford a polo, you can't afford a $150 book, it is not a great impression and not a great way to start off. I want to be a builder, because they're trying to get rid of those guys that can't afford that process. And it is very exclusive. It is harsh to say, but it's really important to nail those first impressions and walk in looking like a successful builder, because at the end of the day, in 2 or 3 hours' time, when you walk out of the assessment, that's exactly what you should be. So those two books again, this one, again, you don't have to buy it from us. You can get it from anywhere, but just get a proper copy of the 1684 Timber Framing Manual and the 2022 NCC, which is two books. Let's see, that's the big one. That's still a decent sized book, but it's not as involved as that. So they're a two-part book for those ones. Now that's really important for you guys to make that decision. Now we're clicked on to 6:30, so we probably haven't got a huge amount more to go. So we're getting through this really quick. Because I'm normally doing this face to face, so it's very interactive. This is a little bit different, but that's okay. Common questions I get asked is with insurance. Insurance, people are really, really nervous about insurance. As a rule, if you haven't been bankrupt and you haven't got a poor financial history, even if you don't own a house, you don't have a huge amount of equity to your name, if you've got a car and tools, generally we can help you out with insurance. We use Insurance House. We've got a number of other providers we can utilize as well. When you talk to your old school builders, they'll say, mate, it's impossible to get insurance. It's impossible. You have to have $500,000 in the bank, or you got to go tell your father or your mother or an uncle, auntie, put $1 million in your account. Don't about all those things. It's completely changed. When he got registered, licensing was easy and insurance was hard. Nowadays, insurance is much more straightforward to get, but it's very hard to get registered. That's why we exist and why you're with us. Now, you might hear from existing builders about some difficulties with insurance. Yes, there are a lot of struggles right now about getting increases and reapplying, getting reassessed. Yes, that is absolutely the case. But when it comes to getting insured, to get registered, because you only need to get insured for $1, right, to get registered. That's very easy, and we just take care of it. It's just part of the process. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. Yes, you need to put your application in. You want to be lodging your application with the home warranty insurance company at the same time that you're lodging your application with the VBA. They've got very, very similar turnaround times. So if you marry those two up together, lodging them at about week 8 of training, that's a perfect scenario to be in. A perfect candidate for the people in my room is, imagine you're starting training in 2 or 3 weeks. Right now, you should be focused on getting as much of that documentation to my CSOs as quickly as you can. Just plans, permits, photos. 3 Ps for your 3 projects: plans, permits, photos. Get that to the team. They're going to send you job summaries. And with the job summaries, you don't have to do big, eloquent things. Just dot point it, real simple, basic as possible. Everything you give us is a rough copy, and we'll reproduce it and get it lodged and make it, attractive. That's what they do. So don't get too caught up in making it pretty and grammar and spelling and all that. Don't worry about that. Just get it out, put it on. The girls cannot lodge an application for you without getting the information from you. Once they get that from you, they're fantastic. They'll run with it. They're really good. Question is, how much insurance can I get to start off with? Really good question. It can vary anywhere between $16,000 and $5 million. I've known of a guy to walk in with $10 million because he's got very, very good finance behind him. So you're not limited by being a new builder. You're limited by your financial position. Really, old advice I used to give to people is just go and get $1, get 16,000, get the bare minimum, just get it so you have your license and get your card. Then go and put a application to reapply, and then you can shoot for the stars, get as much as you can. Even if you get $10 million worth, you don't have to use it. You don't have to pay for it. You only pay for what you use, and we'll train you on that. But get as much as you can as early as you can. Really, really important. Last thing I want to talk about was normally I go around the room, 2 things. One thing's a bit more comical, but when I've got a group of people in front of me, I always go, all right, put your hand up if you were referred from someone. So you know someone who got registered by us, and that's why you're here to get registered, because you were personally referred. Okay, fantastic. James is putting his hands up. Thank you, James. Okay, so everyone that puts their hand up that says, yep, a lot more hands coming up, that's fantastic. So normally it's 50% of the room. So we've got 6 people, 4, yep, they're all coming through. Okay, great. So we've got lots of people here, okay? There's also half the room that's not putting their hands up, right? So the group that's not putting their hands up, look at the group people that got their hands up. They're all nice and calm. They're relaxed. They know exactly what's going on. If you look at the people that don't have their hands up, and if you're one of those people without your hands up, you are very nervous at this point. And that's because you're shitting yourself because you're wondering if this is all a big scam. And unfortunately, the industry does have a really bad name for that. I try to be really reassuring in these things to make you've come here to get registered. You will leave here as a registered builder, and you will have your license in your hand. The whole thing is that you're still not listening to me. When you get halfway through that first class, there's this big Mexican wave that goes through the class. It's halfway through the week one, and you've just met your trainer. You're blown away by your trainer. The trainer's really impressive. He's been talked to, and then you go hour and a half into your first class, and you go, oh, okay, I'm in the right place. Yep, I'm going to get registered. And you don't get it from me. You get it from the trainer, but you also get it from looking around the room and you see that you're surrounded by your peers. It's not a Cert 4. It's not a diploma. You haven't got a taxi driver, a hairdresser, a waiter, a restaurant owner. You haven't got all these people that don't belong in the industry. You're coming in surrounded by your peers and people that you know are going to be good builders. Okay. Now, two more things I want to talk about. Part D. So Part D in your application is where you have to document 36 months worth of work history. Okay, so you got to put 36 months. Now everyone just puts 36 months to lodge their application. Now 36 months, not very hard to work out. That's 3 years, right? What happened 3 years ago? So 3 years ago was COVID. Okay. So 3 years was COVID. Now, what happened was when COVID happened, a bunch of people left their industry, waiters, drivers, left their industry and they went, you know what? We've all lost our jobs. Hospitality, we've lost our jobs. Hey, look, construction doing they're still going, and they jumped into construction and they worked and they labored on site, they volunteered on site. And what happened is that they've all built up 36 months and they are now all wanting to go for their builder's license, and they are the worst candidates, the worst clients we have ever seen, because they're not from construction. And when a really good builder, like a really good carpenter, someone that's been in the industry for 15 years, left school at 16, gone through, done his apprenticeship, is a perfect client. When they fill in their Part D and they just put 36 months, they call these people COVID career changers because they're the worst clients, right? If you put a bare 36 months down, you will look like a COVID career changer. So when it comes to Part D, which is your resume, I want every single one of you to really pump that up. A lot of my best builders and my trainers, my best builders are generally quite humble guys. They don't like talking about themselves. This is not the time for that. You've got to blow that out and show them the 7, 8, 9 years worth of work. So the second they look at your application, they go, oh, wow, he knows his stuff. And you know what the assessor does? When there's a strong application, they only book an hour for the interview, an hour and a half. Now, we will prepare you for a 4-hour interview. We prep for the worst, but we hope for the best. The best scenario is when you have that 15, 20, half an hour, 45-minute interview, because you've blown them away with your application and you've shown that you've turned up professional, look like a builder, act like a builder, can answer questions really quickly, know your stuff. They say, mate, get out of here, you're registered. Okay, now, the last thing I wanted to talk about, so many things we like to cover on these things. We spoke about COVID career changer. We spoke about the books. We spoke about the VBA assessment, applications. We've talked about training. The last thing I want to talk to you guys about is, okay, you're on board. You're coming on board. You're committing to training. You're going to be part of the group that does the app, gets through training, gets registered. Fantastic. Then first thing, a lot of you guys will already have jobs lined up waiting for your license, and that's fantastic. What I strongly advise is I do not want any one of our clients to ever use a master builders or HIA contract. I don't want you to ever run a job without running it through us. What we do is when you run your first job, you run it with us for free. So what we do is your first job might be, I don't know, a little townhouse or something. Give us the job. And what we do for free is we do all your procurement for you. We go out and get your quotes for joinery, staircases, timber, paint, whatever you need. We're the number one provider nationally for Bowens. We're the number one provider for Build Exact, the software. We're number one for uh, Lux. We do massive orders with CSR. We have $20 million worth of projects hit our desk every month. Just today, I had a client. He's building this massive reno. It's a $1.2 million reno. He was spending $8,000, sorry, $18,000 on tapware. Our quote was 10,000. I had another guy. He's building a childcare center, uh, $3.1 million childcare center. The structural steel line item, structural steel, it was lined, that line item was 180,000. Our quote was 150. And we have best in class suppliers. So you know that supplier is never going to let you down because we're their number one provider. You are now part of their number one provider group. So if they burn you, they lose us and they lose millions and millions of dollars of turnover. You are going to pay your bill every time because you don't want to lose our discounts and our buying power. So you will pay your bill every time on time. And the idea of that, in the construction industry, it's so tough. Everyone's knifing each other. Everyone's robbed. It's tough. We've got 3 builders a day we lose. What we've created in RBN, and you guys get this for free, we've created this haven where you can basically run your business ethically. People get paid. It's a trusted environment. And if anyone is seen to be acting untrustworthy, you're just removed. So you don't pay for this service. You don't have the privilege of this service. You have come through us. So you get this for free, but it is a privilege. If anyone is acting untoward or not paying their bills or running behind or running sites that we don't deem to be fit, then we'll remove you from it. We're very, very proud of this group. We've put $500,000 through Bowens on November last year, and December is the hardest time for a builder to pay their bills. As of January, we had 0 debtors for the entire year. And to have that sort of ecosystem, that's our ecosystem. We want you in there. You get it for free. We want to save you between $10,000 and $50,000 on every single one of your projects. Some projects we're able to save them in excess of that, depending on the project. So please, please make sure you run every single project through us. We do it for free. So please take advantage of that. We're doing $20 million a month worth of projects. We're expecting that to head to 100 million easily in the next 6 months. So I don't even think I introduced myself. My name's Nathan Hawkins. I'm one of the owners and directors of Builder Registration. I have my other director and owner, Colin Brewer, who is overseas at the moment. Me and him generally come out to all the week ones. Builder Registration is 11 years old. Colin was one of the founding owners. I came along a year later, so I've been here for 10 years. And we absolutely madly passionate about it. We love what we do. We're fortunate to have a really successful company that helps people achieve their goals, which is fantastic to be a part of. And to be honest, when we got our first 1,000 people registered, you won't believe this, but 5 years later, out of the 1,000, 572 weren't registered anymore. And it was a really shocking statistic for us. So when we got that, it was a big reality kick because there's no point getting a builder's license if you're going to go bankrupt, because literally these people had paid $10,000 to go bankrupt. And if someone told you that's what you're going to do, you're better off just keeping your $10,000, right? So that's why we're sort of madly passionate about the RBN side. We're really keen. We love seeing when the projects come in and, just that tapware item to get a cost from $18,000 down to $10,000, improving the quality of the supplier as well as the price, just means that we know that builder's going to make that much more profit on the job. So it's sort of really exciting and rewarding for us. But that's enough for me for RBN. The last thing I was going to touch on was contracts. So when you sign your contract, it's incredibly important. You're going to learn in training. We never, ever want you using a master builders or HIA contract. You will always use the RBN contract. The reason is the RBN contract is specifically geared to protect the builder rather than the consumer. There are 10 specific clauses that go out of their way to ensure that you are protected as the builder and it goes in your favor. And you're going to learn a lot about that in training. I mentioned it early just because when that comes up, you'll hear and you'll start to see, and because you're going to be a builder, you're going to start to pay a lot more attention in your real life. You're going to see people using handover kits. You're going to be looking at contracts, looking at asking questions about how they did their estimate and their quoting and what their profit margins are. Because all of a sudden these things mean something to you now because you're going to be living that life in 6 months. When it comes to contracts, we want our guys to be completely different to everyone else, running the most safest, bulletproof contracts that we can. We've got an amazing system by a company called Paid, very worthwhile looking up because they've got an amazing protected payment system which protects all the subcontractors and the builder and just make sure everyone's getting paid. It's a really good system. You're going to learn a lot about it. But basically, that's what today's about. I want to walk you through what to expect, what you're going to get. If you know, make your decision on your books, please let us know tomorrow because it's in a financial year. It just means you get the tax benefit. If the tax benefit doesn't suit, then we can do it next financial year. But make sure you decide before you get to training whether you're going to do non-tabs, tabs, if you're going to get the books from us or you're going to get it from someone else. No stress, but just don't leave it to week one and then have to pay for the courier to get it to you. Let us know beforehand, and we do it for free because the train is traveling there anyway. It just makes it cheaper for you, and if you get the tax incentive, that's a bonus. Please fire away. We're very contactable in the office. We're here to assist you. Please leverage our services. CSOs are incredibly busy at the moment, so if you're not getting an immediate response, just keep sending the information. When your name hits the queue, the more information they've got, don't send a file and go, okay, I'm going to wait for the response, and when I get the response, I'll do the rest. Just bombard them, and the more they see you sending, the more that they're going to increase your priority on the list. So please get as much as you can through, and I'm very sure you're going to enjoy the experience. I'm very sure you're all going to get registered, be part of the number. If we can get you guys registered this financial year for the majority of you, for the guys that are too busy, that's cool, but if we can get you this year, that's a major achievement for everyone. Again, for anyone that missed out, that knows anyone, just let us know. We can send them a recording. If you know anyone that wants to get registered, we always got room in our classes. Please feel free to recommend us. We really appreciate that. Thank you for everyone that's chosen. Thank you, firstly, for choosing us as your registration partner. Thank you to the people who referred you to us. We do really much appreciate it. We do love what we do. We're very passionate about what you do. Hope that comes through when I'm talking to you guys. We take this incredibly seriously. And thank you for choosing us. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys come week one. I'm hoping to get to all of them and see you guys and come to week 10s when you guys are coming through the process and then get that fantastic phone call when you're over the moon when you've got your license. So again, thank you for choosing us. Another question? Thank you. Appreciate the positive responses. And very good. It looks like we've answered all the questions, so I'll head out. And thank you very much. Hopefully, you can all go watch State of Origin. Being in Victoria, most of us go for the maroon, but yeah, we sort of feel a bit left out when we don't quite have that in Victoria. But we've got the AFL, so we can't complain. Anyway, I'll let you guys go. Thank you very much. If you need anything, please reach out. Always happy to help. And again, thank you for choosing Builder Registration.